Hey, you guys. It's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? I hi. Good morning. Good morning. Or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world at the time of this transmission. I'm saying good morning. Like basically good moment to you. I hope that you can hear me. I'm trying to be a bit quiet. Sometimes you guys know I move around a bit and I end up in places where there's other people sleeping because I wake up in the middle of the night. I wake up sometimes at 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. So for me actually like waking up at like 5:30 is like a lion. How weird. Who would have thunk it during my during my 20 something party days. Um, so the message that came through really powerful today was like the humility in unity, the humility in practicing oneness. And I talk about oneness in the book. I make a little bit of a joke about it actually, because the book is very colloquial. Like it's um I use really simple language to make all of this manifestation, quantum leap, awakening stuff as simple as possible for myself as well. I remember along my journey one time, somebody saying something about like an effective teacher or an effective whatever um, can like it's like when we can explain really rather abstract or perhaps complex theories or theoretical ideologies or understandings. And, when you can make it super duper simple, I think a little bit about Eckhart Tolle in that regard, then you're sort of getting closer to quite a firm understanding of of a process or whatever. Um, so oneness, and I jest because the first line is this lesson gets a bit sciency. I talk about the meeting point of metaphysics and physics. This is how and why I know there is likely to be more editions of this material. Like one, we had the idea of actually just creating a workbook for people, so that's one idea. But interestingly, like a few of it is early, my friend Susanna. It's hey, it's just gone 4:20. What? Um, there's just aspects of the material that I personally feel that I could tweak and make better, improve it. And one of it is like this idea of high vibration, like um 31. Must be about 9 your time, right? I think it is. I think you're about 7 hours behind me. So this idea of like good vibes only. I used to have a t-shirt that said that. Nice t-shirt, but eventually I got over like the whole like let's just be good vibes all the time. Let's just stay positive. You're like, "Huh? Boring." So it's not that we want to be downers or anything, but you get my drift. Um yeah, so this book talks about like basically like chasing the high vibrations, which I actually don't believe is accurate in a sense as far as this whole awakening goes. I think the awakening is more about the beingness that we are becoming more whole, like more integrated in the being, in the body, not or us rising up into the ether or something like that. or even necessarily these bodies changing on how they look much at all, other than the fact that we shall all appear more light filled, more radiant, more harmonious, more well. More this it's pretty much like even the Star Trek and these more futuristic visions of a human population. There is an aesthetic, you could say, to our wellness. It's not the limited that it's not the kind of 3D matrix mainstream media propaganda around human bodies and what it should look like. It's just, come on, let's be honest, you guys. We do know in our hearts when we're facing another, we can feel when someone's like healthy. We can feel when someone's well. And we can usually feel and or see if someone's not as well, if someone's carrying weight. And when I say weight, I really mean it, and this is my experience as well. When I say that we're carrying weight, often, so often is the case, the weight is very much representative of baggage, emotional baggage, shit, fear, trauma, shame, guilt. And then once we start being able to just deal with and process our emotions, oftentimes with the weight feels off. The World Rehab Project. Interesting. Yeah, 9. Yeah, 9. That's what I thought, my friend. Um, and so this is like in again in the context of this material where I was talking about oneness and how when you start owning your own emotions, in particular your emotional reactions, however, yes, discernment is huge. One of you this came up in the last 5 hours or something like that. Um, one of you talked about discernment and oh my geez. And discernment is in here too. So discernment is one of these refining or honing capacities that we absolutely are um playing with, because energy is so subtle. Like the way we're working and manifesting in our field is so subtle. And like the truth is that we can hold on to grievance, we can go round in patterns, yes. Part of the awakening though, and I.e. the idea of the ascension, which again to me in my awareness is just us feeling better and more flowy and more joyful, and again like being who we are, being able to just be who we are and not chase and not fear, and there's I'm really seeing how it looks more in my life as well, like as a female embodying the feminine in me, and then seeing that for a lot of us as women, who especially the sensitive and or the men, but like we if we've been sensitive and feeling all along, then the more we've embraced that, the more in alignment is our action and our right action. And um and I see the inherent function of our being the self that we are, and once we really can just rest into that, everyone else is like exactly who they're supposed to be as well. And it would appear to me that again, it's like everyone has a placement within a configuration in in a way that we're upholding these steps along the path. And in my awareness as well, that these next, so May is a huge turning point as far as manifestation goes, and then um so May, and then moving into these next few months, certainly through to like autumn, we're just gonna really see some changes. And in respect to this whole awakening, great awakening, that's gonna continue to the waves are gonna keep coming essentially, right? Yeah. Yeah, Susanna, same. Yeah. I sometimes think when we're more invested in the 3D reality or linearity perspective, people often think of ascension as like these things that we have to reach to, similarly, like achieve and be more and be better. And I just at one point in this whole like law of attraction manifestation stuff, I realized like it's this perpetual chasing, in fact, that we need to temper in our personal lives and in the collective. It's this insanity of like chasing really out of fear rather than being. And then it's more that childlike essence of just like what do you balance those rocks, those kind of zen rocks. And I'm wanting to get back into my painting and my blogging. Interestingly, I'm getting inspired to blog a little bit more and looking at more patterns in earnest this time around as well, like looking more honestly at patterns that we're ready to let go of, perhaps, but not from a place of guilt and shame. We're not letting go of things because we're guilty. We're letting go because the heart desires release. The heart desires to move on. The heart desires more other things to do. Chasing the status, exactly. Fear of lack, fear of failure. If we're chasing the status outside of ourselves to prove something to who? That's a huge thing. Like, who are we ever proving anything to if there is only the one? So it's only ever ourself that we're looking for. It's only ever the self, in this authentic expression that we're desiring to experience. And so long as we're invested in the external reality that's already been projected and created, that's why we loop into patterns. Hey, Elf herself, good morning. How are you, my friend? That's how I see the energetic dance of looping us into these denser or less good feeling patterns. Where en flow, it's less sort of rigid fucky patterns and it's more on flow, it's more fluid patterns. The patterns are there, but there's breath around them, there's space around them. They're not oh, interesting. That's just giving me an insight around something that I'm working on as well. Hi Omega. I love connections. Like Omega, I thought of you yesterday randomly because you popped on Instagram. The vibe is great tonight and, or this morning. And yeah, it's so often the case with you guys, like, I'll think about one of you if I haven't seen you, like, on a live share in a bit, and then lo and behold, you're there, right? Hi, Susanna. Yeah, for sure, my friend. I think you were there. We had a good chat. There was, like, few of us there, and it was pretty long. Elf herself, I love the hat as well. It's true. It is this miraculous nature of existence, and these insights are ultimately, and not just the insight, but the actual living experience of miraculousness is what is it's one and the same of the mass awakening, and the awakening is going to continue, and more people are going to be awakening, and it's the heart call of days gone by. The heart call is being heard more and more and more in waves. Yeah, nice, nice, Omega. That's so cool. I'm excited for you. So let me get my notes. Let me get my notes, you guys. Okay. So yes, the oneness. Now there's always a bit of a dance with energy. We're always reflecting back. The reason why we're moving into this phase of like really, really dissolving karma is that through this greater awareness, we can start to discern better from within the self, like the intuitive capacity, what the resistance is, what is the old pattern that we're letting go of. And this is something I'm still like noodling with in my own life. It is subtle. And the way we potentially sabotage love to protect the ego that's invested in our past pain or our past trauma c- can be, again, why we need discernment is because nothing is what it looks like. Nothing's what it looks like, you guys. It's I would just say the deeper we go within, the more this life experience here on earth is just a miracle. It's just this wow. and and I watched a film last night, Infinity War or something. It's one of these big like Marvel comic movies. A friend wants me to watch so that we can go watch Endgame together, which is like the big one, so or the final one perhaps. So I'm watching this uh, watching this movie ultimately, which actually, I'm processing it thinking there was some interesting representations in that movie about it's all an illusion. It is. um Actually, yeah, in that Avengers movie, I'm suddenly remembering there were some weird relationships to some of the conspiracy propaganda going on around mass genocide, because that was part of the storyline, basically. And in Susanna, yeah. Well, and early childhood trauma not being enough, right? Which is a wound across the collective, I would say, or told we are worth a shot at the golden ring. So here's the thing, right? Hobbits in the Shire only got corrupted when the ring came to the Shire. But in the kind of essence of the Shire, they were all fine. None of them wanted the ring. None of them gave a shit about the ring until the little hobbit man was like, and there again, like in our biblical stories and some of the religious tales, it's the illusion of gold. It's the illusion of shiny things outside of us that are like the illusion, that external reality. That's the temptation. That's ultimately the deception as well. Us thinking that there's a world outside of the self, and then we're chasing ourself in the illusion. That's kind of how I see it. And okay, so the darkness of greed has to do with so long as we perpetuate the belief system that we are outside of the self, i.e., there is an external reality that is somehow separate and fearful, and we must try to dominate the planet because nature is fucking scary. So long as we keep our nature outside of ourself, we then perpetuate things like greed and power over because we're not in the unity of self. We're not in our humility. We're not in our oneness. And like again, it's what you resist persists. So the fact that we're all running away from facing and dealing with ourselves in any given moment, we then perpetuate these different cycles. And exactly, nature is not scary. Right. I'm piecing that. So it's like the darkness of greed or the nature of our true self. Once you feel the miracle, once you feel the heart of your connection to earth and your connection to humans, it's more difficult to be greedy. I mean, and here again is discernment. Discernment, discernment, discernment. It's and this is so tricky to navigate, right? Because in this community, certainly a lot of us here resonate with what I talk about the economy being inherently criminal. That the economy, as it were, is set up by people who steal, essentially, and just kept stealing from people. And then we've gone around so many cycles with this economy that people actually think it's real. And it's a huge enslavement piece, right? However, as we transition, it's not about lack. It's not I'm not I'm also somebody who's not into like spiritual sacrificial like because I'm spiritual and I talk about spiritual stuff, I shall never make any money and I shall never have things. No, I want to live. I want to create beauty. I want to live abundantly, and I do live abundantly. I do in some oftentimes very miraculous ways because a lot of my adult life has most of it really no. There's been no real money per se. It's been like I wonder what's going to happen next month. Ooh. you know, partly because I never bought in. I never really like I laughed off. I anyway, that's we can talk about my experience with money another time. Yes, abundance is a measurement of reason. Yeah. Oh my god, skipping around naked and humble. What? And that's that's something I can see us all doing like in gatherings and like on the land and eh. Hi love 11. How are you, my friend? So, yeah, sustainability, and in a sense, currency. Like, I'm assuming this could be wrong, but currency in its idea, right? Currency means a current, a flow, energy flowing. And this is part of the reason the economy is basically bunk now because people have been hoarding money out of fear. And it's squeezing off the economy. It's squeezing off the vital flow of our humanity. And so we're needing to shapeshift. We're needing to disentangle our fearful attachments to the economy and break free from the heart basically and trust that we will find a new way to exchange currency, which is just us exchanging our energy, right? But the discernment piece is pretty huge because you guys, I talk a lot about like emotional abuse manipulation. People totally blind and invested in the economy are in manipulative tactic. It's just almost like how people are trained to be. People are trained to be like, "Oh, no, 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 you need to do, 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 do." It's like everyone's reactive all the time because because of how monumental the mass deception is. Increasingly as well, people are as like maybe spinning out in those manipulative patterns as well because like time's up. People can sniff out the bullshit and people are starting to realize they're being sniffed out, right? The barter system, that now live in. Nice. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of us probably in this so-called well-being industry or just, I guess, like counterculture or alternatives or I don't know, it's difficult to label, isn't it? But a lot of us, I think, have have been there as well as far as like trading. In fairness as well, I think like God, I've just always wanted to give, and if I'm honest, like most of my life when I have and a lot, just a lot when I've like bottomed out or ended up with nothing, strangers would help me. Like I'd relative strangers, people I didn't necessarily know very well would like take me in or yeah, buy me a meal for a bit of yoga. Like and that always softened me. That always made me realize that people are generous and kind. I remember traveling to Greece with no money and not knowing where I was staying, and I just met somebody on a ferry, and they took me in, and then off they went to work, and he gave me his car keys. He was like, "Here, go driving," and it was like, "Sweet." And this is Elf, and this is something as well, right? I do landscaping for a place to live in for yoga. Sweet. Sweet. Well, and there's more of those sort of work trade experiences happening, right? which is opening that kind of service-based industry reality for more and more of us. There's this thing called yoga trade, which I check out every once in a while just to see if I could do like a month in Hawaii or, Morocco or something like that. And yet for us building projects and the new paradigm stuff, I think there's a sense of like allowing, and this is the thing of being open to receive and working through past patternings around limitation. It's that, again, discernment, right? It's like as we transition, there's got to be some shift in the resource because the masses are still anchored in the economy. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer, you're in my awareness for some reason as well. I think I wanted to email you about your shop or something, but could maybe email me? And for some reason I'm thinking about Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore, you guys. I hope that you know that. Anyway, although I have checked it probably twice since going off because Alta Love is a business. So I still check messages on Alta Love from time to time, or someone in Team Love does. Um, so yeah, the I mean, discernment with all of this is really critical because it's just so easy for us to go back into patterns of being manipulated by people that are just in reactivity. And again, the reactivity is just par for the course because people are attached to an illusion which has actually been deceiving them. So you can imagine for smart people or like powerful people in the world, like people that have used status in the hologram to basically hide from themselves and like keep up the facade. As the awakenings continue, that's going to blow people's um lids off. It's going to blow as in we just have to get real and realize that everyone has value in service, but just because somebody made money in the system doesn't make them abundant, and it doesn't necessarily make them a good person. And I think this is what we're all waking. We all thought like, oh, my doctor or my teachers, and now we're waking up to like that's all just a big sham, and our education system is fucked. We're not educated, we're programmed to be slaves, and that has to be shone out. Globally speaking, our laws, our man-made laws are bunk as well because we've evolved beyond them. They don't Again, the man-made laws are inherently attached to enslavement systems to keep very few people in power. And then, oh yeah, going back to economy, it's like when people steal and then hoard, it it squeezes off the mass of humans who just mostly want to live in peace here and have fun and create, right? Or loved or happy. Mm, mm. Yeah, Alf, I find that it's continuous as well, like self-compassion, self-love, especially because here's the legit truth. If we're attacking ourselves or other, it's the same. So in essence, it's always like, "Oh, forgive myself. I was just a bitch in my head to that person," and then forgive myself, right? And or because it's always a projection. That's like the weirdest thing. We're always looking at our own projection. And so this is a bit of a like more intimate thing that I share because I've done a lot of body work, but like for me, it's like I know that whether I'm in some shitty depressed mode in myself or whether I'm like sat in a coffee shop looking at someone thinking, oh, they must be in hardcore depressed mode or this is brutal, but like I'm sure some girls might resonate with this if you're honest with yourself that women have still these like programs that run kind of like picking other women apart or like having jealousy or like you'll catch yourself like I can remember, and mom, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but like as a little girl I can remember watching my mom like looking at other women, but as a little girl it wasn't like a nice feeling. It made me feel like what's mom thinking, her face, and like that's it's judgment. But again, it wasn't that was to do with mom feeling unworthy and, like, thinking she was less than, and sometimes looking at women who looked a certain way and was just like and I remember hearing her once with another girlfriend of hers. There was this really sexy I remember this vividly. She was wearing little beach shorts and a little crop top, and man, was she a sexy little beach bum chica. And my mom to this other friend of mine, again, I was a little kid, like less than 10 years old, and my mom just looked at my other friend and just said, "Oh, bitch." And I can recount these, and I know it might have seemed all in jest, but as a young woman, there I am thinking, "Oh, okay, so if you're a sexy and beautiful woman, other women are gonna go around calling you a bitch." So you can imagine that I did, create that reality, created a lot of situations where other girls were really harsh to me, partly why I'm super duper introvert and isolated. It's because and they wouldn't necessarily have to say it, you could just feel it, especially as an empath, you could feel groups of girls. And when you get super heightened with your sensitivity, you don't even have to be in the same room. You can feel collective group consciousness projecting shit onto you, especially when you put yourself out in public. That's what we get about discernment and psychic attack is that if there's a group, even if there's one being that's super intent on like tearing you apart or has a lot of dark, willful energy towards you, based again in their own separation and fearful illusion, they'll project it onto you. And if you're sensitive, you'll feel it. Oh, I know. Well, that's what we do. We used to all the time program myself, same. And it took years to outwork because it's just binary. Technically, people perceived me as that, but I never did. I always hated myself and felt fat and ugly, and it was only from suffering pattern, and then finally being like, "Enough," right? Like, I'm tired of it. And so you break down all those walls and then you just love and accept people and really the truth is like love and beauty and attraction is the soul. It is the heart. It's not where God, once you break out of that mainstream programming, beauty is not what we're sold. That's all. Like beauty is an essence. Beauty is, let's be honest. I'm sure there are humans who actually see beauty in blood and violence. I'm sure there are people who see beauty in, well, whatever, flowers, and and we all know this for a fact. One person could think that girl's attractive. Another person could think, "Ooh, she's got," and the standardized propagated form of beauty again is false. Y it's I don't and there's various psychological reasons why that's the propagated illusion. Oh, wait, does it disempower us? Yes. And that's why we let it go. Oh, habasho. Self-loathing and leaving Las Vegas didn't end up going that way for me. No? Mm. And this is why, I mean, like, it's nice to share bits of our journey, but we all have a different journey, and we all have a different way of working it out. And we feel it in different edges based on our past programming. Just even, like, 2 days ago, I had another layer come off around, like, exclusion from alternative communities even. So finding what I think is, like, my community and then realizing there's, like, a community within a community that I can feel the judgment, basically, and that's again but that's, like, the old self. Because I was somebody who, like, I found it really difficult to land anywhere over my life because I had these awarenesses and sensitivity, and I didn't really fit in to any mainstream because I observed mainstream like the fuck, like it's sick culture, right? But then I tried to fit in because that's kind of what you're supposed to do. So like, okay, um, but then I'd hang on the alternative ends as well. Like I'd hang out in these kind of alternative cafes and art venues and kind of arty, funky, again, kind of fringe culture or counterculture. artists collectives and theater hubs. Um, and I actually set up my yoga in one of these spaces. When I first started teaching in 2008, I set up some yoga in these kind of fringy art spaces. And like when I remember, and this is part of the pattern that's coming back now, is that like, but I didn't fit there as well. Like I can remember because I worked in a independent clothing store, and I've just always had my own like style. And well, I was always looked like this. And um it was like I so I didn't fit into like the mainstream, but then I didn't fit into these counterculture communities. It seemed like I felt judged. I just felt like they were like, I don't know, like, and I don't know why. I don't know if I didn't dress hippie enough, or if it was because I wore makeup, or or like, and now I can outwork it, right? Now I can like understand that human play, as it were, and that ultimately a lot of what I felt over my lifetime were people feeling either judged themselves, or feeling threatened or territorial, or who knows, right? And then gosh, it just makes me think about we're all so powerful, aren't we? No suicide run. Hey. Hi, Rochelle. It's always nice to catch you live. Hi, Fifth. You guys, I'm loving the green hearts. Elf, it's the main thing. I think that's why more and more of us as empaths are sharing more and more, because the discernment is not absorbing, and yet we're absorbing it all the time. We're exchanging these energies, which is again my usual offering for people is just leave. If you're getting drained, if you're not sure what's going on, just leave a situation, come back to yourself to get clear, right? Especially with the kind of narcissistic stuff, is that people just lie or deny, or I don't, and like I'm not here to judge people, so whether they're lying or denying or what, if they can't be clear about this is what I'm feeling, then an empath just has to leave, you know. Hi, Fifth. I feel like we were going to the moon and coming back married. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really nice thing. I feel that as well. Fifth, I'm gonna just check out your videos. Outie. Peace out. Hi, Alda. PH. Hi, Kirky Cosmo. What's up, girly? How are you? Perceptions have left. Has my old home confused, misguided, being feeling protection, being empathic. Moved to the other side of the universe. Some astral traveled me to my new home. Yeah, and I mean, weirdly, I feel all of that as well, like the misguided perceptions and all of that. Sending you big love as well. So much love to you, Fifth. I'm so thankful for all of you guys just doing you and being here, and that we can all feel supported. Hey, Danielle. Right? Right, Omega? Like, it's just freedom, right? Like, what else is freedom other than just we get to be who we are? That came up in yesterday's share around like the truth of the illusion of money. I'm like, it's such a cop out for us to be like, we need money to be free. I'm like, no, you need love, yo. You just need love, and you need to be in your love space. And then in that space, like it's just nothing but freedom, because you're the purity of yourself. And nothing can take that purity away. Nothing can take that essence away. So there's no, and again, plus the like the title of the share, plus humility and unity. Like we are all one. So as long as we're like pushing against or resisting or like or attacking, which everything to do with how we're feeling and how we're connecting to our feelings, which is us connecting to our primary relationship. Um, that's the oneness. And within the oneness and the vastness of it, we get to choose like, "Oh, this feels better. Oh, this feels better. Oh, this feels better." And the oneness in regard to human evolution simply has to do with us living in our heart space so that we can be in more divine resonance with one another, not like in fearful illusions and like in separation, i.e., blame and attack, power, or fearful illusions. If everyone's separate, nobody's whole. And if nobody's whole, everybody's looking for their wholeness in everybody else, not realizing that it's in them and that we have to outwork it, i.e., heal karma, atone for our sins, i.e., our cycles of separation, to become one again, and then see through the eyes of love and unity. It's possible as in our humanity. It's just not propagated. It's not sold to us. Certainly not, I would say, in an obvious way. And those of us working it out are having to just be like super honest and sharing with you because there's no clear cut obvious path other than you do know. Like you do know the truth. You know how to do this. You know how to work it out. You do remember. You came here to see something different. And you came here to vibrate and be something different, you know? Elda, I'm gonna listen while I thought I was reading meditate slash, but I merged it, mean like a meditation of the book Hunger. Thanks, Elda. You commented something that really like hit me in a kind of like fuck yeah, man. As in, just take the joke of life, and it's good to have a jolly rant sometimes, you know? Hi, Scott. How are you, my friend? Look at I love that emoji, just like or like, are they dancing? I'm not sure. Hi, Bruce. Shine like the stars we truly are, right? Ugh. So, and that was something I remember because I studied acting, and part of my obviously there was a recognition that I knew I had to kind of be out talking to people. But I didn't think I could just like talk about whatever I wanted, right? I had to be an actor. I had to be on stage. People had to think I was important so that I could tell them, give them a piece of my mind, and also tell them to stop making money more important than people, kind of thing. Um, but in But then I started to realize that there again was like that I was desperately unhappy and like chasing the self outside of the self via like being an actress. And then I realized, but we are, and like, especially once I got into my yoga and spirituality stuff, it was like, we are the star. Because again, that's how everything in the 3D reality is like all barfed up onto itself. It's that none of it's, none of it's healthy and whole, right? It's like, the stars are plucked and created and projected for to perpetuate our own unworthiness. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the whole program of idol worship is a propagated program to keep the masses enslaved. And so I'm here as just like a nobody to, and or everybody, like all of us, to be like, "Oh, we're all good enough, you guys. We're all stars." And that was something, again, having an empathic heart, was that like eventually when you see the economy, you're like, "Wait a minute, why do the movie stars make all that money when the bin men or construction workers or people who actually do work that's like valuable," right? Where again, I'm like, there's plenty of value in lots of different industries, you could say, but the more we squeeze off industry and make it about profit, people aren't coming from service base. They might go to work, but they're not in service, you know? All the world is a stage, right? Mm-mm, 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 mm. Look at this emoji. Me too. Did anyone else have acting or like performance background randomly? It's so funny as well because I never took my acting program seriously. Like I just didn't care. Like whenever I did we'd have to choose monologues and, like, do performances. I would always choose, like, political speeches, like Nelson Mandela's speech and, like, Martin Luther King and Marianne Williamson. I was always choosing that. Bearing in mind I was 22 years old, and all the 18-year-olds were like, because I talked about spiritual stuff, right? But I didn't know it was necessarily spiritual. It was just me, my weird philosophical. That's another thing. People would always call me like a philosopher. And yeah, I would just do like, or anytime that we had like a module where we got to just like create, I would basically like get a little collective of actors together and be like, right, we're going to create a piece of political theater. I'd always do these radical pieces. And when it came to like other groups of actors, I was just like, God, who cares? Whenever I'd go to see theater, apparently as an actor, you're supposed to enjoy going to see theater. I never did, because when I'd go watch theater, mostly I would just like see the actor ego. I would just see people's egos acting on stage, not the character, not the story. Some actors I think are like, yeah, amazing. And they're just, that's what they're meant to do. Right. But a lot of it's BS. Just like there's a lot of BS probably in modern medicine. I wonder. Um, just like there's a lot of BS in our education system. I'm not tearing people apart. There's amazing teachers and amazing doctors and amazing lawyers. But again, it has to do with just being a decent human being who's acting in integrity via their heart, doing what they actually truly believe is the right thing to do in that moment. And a lot of us and a lot of people, I think, on the globe are having to face their karma and make a fucking choice. Are they going to do what's right, or are they going to sell out? Right? That's kind of where we're at. Like, let's, and fortunately, those of us who've never had any money, we have nothing to sell. or or rather it's to do with like I have nothing to sell out to. I'm not going back, you know. I'm not I stand my ground and be taken away to prisons for all I matter if people wanted to do that for I don't even know why I'm saying that. But I've, you know, any of us that are a little bit rebellious, I'm sure we've had those visions of like, take me, take all of me, take it all. I'm not taking any of it with me, so you can have it. That's the transparency of like the heart versus greedy manipulation, right? And that's how and why we all resonate is because we're not here for that. Like I don't want your systematic power because it's broken. And it's not true power. It's not light. It's manipulative bullshit, dark tactic, you know? It's like, God damn it. um, okay, I'm gonna just bust through the notes, you guys. So humility and unity, oneness for sure. We can integrate the self, but I'm also here to say that you don't have to hang out with toxic people that are vibrating in an energy that's too far away from yours. And don't matter what they say or do, if they're not in alignment, it's not going to resonate, and you can walk away. Simple as that. And a lot of people are in that space right now, or a lot of us are clearing up huge karma from the collective. A lot of ancestral shit has been released in these last few months. And then these final threads are maybe to do with our self-worth, maybe to do with our familial patterns. A lot of entrenched family construct stuff is coming out as well. Hey, John Beanie. I had a gush day yesterday, didn't I, John? I had um just yeah, a gushy day of like feeling the heart love vibrage from you guys. And I don't know, I think Fifth was there actually. John did a live share and it was so much fun. Be sure to see the newest. Okay, wicked. That's for Fifth. So Fifth's World is up on a dragon video. I do enjoy watching those. And you know, you can't help it, but once you start watching people's sky videos and like people like you, Fifth and Mike and stuff explaining what you see, Like, it really does shift what you see. I'm definitely not looking at the sky in the same way. And oh, and I had this crazy download, very cool. I think I mentioned it yesterday perhaps, but just driving along basically and having this very visceral, real sense of like earth merging, or rather, yeah, heaven merging with earth, like the sky was coming down and merging with the earth, like this idea of heaven's descent, you know? Yeah, I'm putting my finger over that fifth. I would just like ignore that for some reason, I feel. Um, Hi that way. Oh, fifth, sending you mega love heart vibration. Um, this is a side note, fifth. There's just like potential um like chords. Message me a little bit. We can do a quick clear out, right? Oh, you guys, I love you guys, right? I know. And that's the legit truth. A lot of us have died. Like that's part of why a lot of us feel, and hey, you just worked it out basically. Like as long as we're just working it out in the here now, it's already worked out like little chords that are looping certain, almost like a troll like energy weirdly. It's aspect of like the centering paradigm, but like chords around. So you just in your light, it's all gone. So, and this is the thing as well, like dying to the illusion. For a lot of us, we had we've been around the bend a few times in different ages, and then a lot of us might have this experience or resonate with this experience, but where you've actually had multiple deaths in this lifetime. So transformational cycles are death cycles essentially. We don't okay, my family still know my name and know my person in essence from childhood, but as far as the incarnation goes, it's new incarnation, new dimensional realities, new life, right? And because in our cycles in these bodies, our cells actually transform, our cells actually change. And so the oneness of creation is eternal and never ending, and we are one with it totally, you know? Same. Many have but do not know. And or there's the issue again that people get fixated on holding on to the external, don't let go, don't let themselves die, and then they end up living zombies. They basically they carry and harbor the dead energy inside because they're just like fixing their external reality in place out of fear. So they like living in a falsely constructed reality based in illusion and a false security, holding on to that whilst they deny their own existence. And then they end up being the walking dead, right? Yeah, actually, Elf, that's relevant insight, right? Because that's we can very consciously do that as well. I would say as far as clearing and then rebirthing. And I do that pretty much like I do that a lot in just emotional storms, which means like on a daily basis. Like any deep emotional storm, which can happen pretty regularly, is oh hi Clear. Hello, my friend. Is a death. There's a cellular death on some level. There's an alchemy that's happening, a transformation. So if it's a, if we are moving a form from one density level to another, it's transforming, it's a different cell, right? So oh hi, the crystalline DNA process is 100% dying. Ah, it's the beginning of the decay. 100% dying. That's why the news is Hmm. Okay, okay. I'm gonna go watch some of yours, or maybe the last one around the dragon. I definitely want to have a exchanging note sesh. I'm because I feel like there's some like it's just language interpretation. So my feelings connect, and sometimes it's just different words, which is where exchanging some notes would be useful. Because the crystalline DNA, I'm thinking randomly about I talk about crystallization in vision, and there is an aspect of the crystalline. I know, and I mean, that's kind of the truth about, propaganda in the 3D mainstream. Once you've lifted veils, you can watch mainstream and start to kind of see the tactic. Um, but people will buy in as long as they wanna buy in, right? And at least there's enough of us that are fully aware now that this is just these are just last ditch attempts, but again, none of those controller energies are anchored here. So even if they did manage to, like, do something really horrible, it would just still be smoke and mirrors, if you hear what I'm saying, right? Light body, okay. Yeah, light body. So that's how I see it, this perpetual unfolding of transformation and alchemy of density to lightness, and density to lightness, and density, to lightness, and light density is simply old paradigm, 3D reality, we're all separate, we're not connected at all, there's nothing connected, we're separate. Then the more we go through these emotional storms, i.e., we feel, we breathe, we connect to our existence, we feel, we breathe, we connect to our existence, we direct thought, we consciously choose to be honest and real, that this process, plus with greater awareness, things like sex and diet and various other plant medicines, can actually also bring about the experience, the revelatory insights that allow us to expand, right? And allow us to anchor in more light via the vessel, via the beingness that we are, right? And that's to me about crystallizing vision. It's like, to me, a lot of us have already crystallized the vision of new paradigm, new earth. Otherwise, we'd be back in 3D matrix. We wouldn't be here basically discussing all of these topics, and essentially knowing that we're all going to have these different hubs, and or are in that hub, pioneering new ways of exchanging currency, pioneering of exchanging trade. And that's something as well, like, working with people. And that's something that came up very recently, um, where again, I have different people around the world who have coaching sessions with me. And I'm a super grounded, practical human. I'm not very greedy at all, actually. So when it comes to the whole financial exchange, I usually just say to people, pay a deposit, like put a deposit down, and then we can go from there. £100 in American dollars is like 130 bucks, which for an hourly rate, that's like a substantial amount of money for a lot of people, right? Um, and just via my own path and journey, I've managed to meet people that are on the other end of that spectrum. Really kind, compassionate, sensitive people who happen to have a whole bunch of money, more than they're right up there, And there again, there's no judgment, just working with people. But for them, that plus it's the freedom path, That's what abundance and flow is all about. And um so I'll put that out to you guys. If the rate is too high, just pay the deposit and we can discuss and go from there. Hi, gracious love. How are you, my friend? In the past, one God would rule the night, one would rule the day. We would every day be reborn in mortality, spiritual immortality, where we once lived. Mm. Ah, see, Bruce. It's like you guys have within us, this collective, there's a sense of outworking the falsehood of storytelling as well. Because it's in our words, it's in our language, it's in our collective storytelling programs that we continue to that we continue to share, right? Hi, Julie. How are you, my friend? And I'm really happy to see a lot of you guys are all connected as well. Okay, this is really good because I know that, like, because of the way I res, like, I know that some of you, um, I want to say, just are like super powerful. But there's that very similar connection of like persecution, torment, exclusion, being cast aside, all of that. And then even certain environments like this feeling cast aside. And it's something I would never, ever, ever want to do to people is make them feel bad or unworthy or not enough, you know? So this is really truly not about MJ and not necessarily about like Alta Love being some, empire. It's about new paradigm. It's about creating new paradigm. And those of you who res with this, you get me because it's like, who needs the possessions, right? Nobody needs to own anything. I'm not taking anything with me. There's a new grid or a new kind of blueprint that is being born, and we're just essentially riding the wave of that manifestation. And we don't have exact answers, but I forget sometimes that people are still proper like do 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 in the Truman Show, blah 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 blah. I'm going to my job, do 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 do, you know, without any awareness. And then there's these waves and pockets. So those of us resonating, depending on where our placement in the world is, it's exactly where we're meant to be because our light the codes that we carry are essentially what's stirring the next wave of awakening. Arr. Thanks, you guys. Well, and I appreciate you, and it's partly why I love it. I love you guys. It's partly why I share so for freaking honesty is because I want to be held accountable. And people, when I act out or if I'm reactive or if people like, because I sense people's protective patterning as well. I just often attempt to not really like feed that. If anything, I'll just anchor into mine and be humble and be like, I'm sorry, I acted like an absolute biatch, or I was totally reactive and shooting venom out of my mouth, and I'm sorry for that. you know, it's that humility piece, and that's that. There again, in my life experience, has often surprised me. You catch somebody doing something a little bit naughty, and then they deny it and tell lies, and I'm like, and then you're an empath, and you're like, oh, one, I caught you red-handed. Two, something turned fishy because your tune changed, and then three, you clearly um, constructed a lie to cover your arsehole behavior so that you don't have to deal with it, which means you don't have to feel the shame of your own darkness. And having traversed my own shame, I'm like, I get it. That's why I walk away from situations because I am not here to judge people. And I am also not here to force people to do the work. Because if any of you get what I'm talking about when I talk about emotional storms, it's hella painful. It's deep. It's deep. And most people apparently don't want to go there. They're like, no, so and so made me feel like that. I'm like, okay. It's the reality is that the feelings are coming up, they're being triggered for release. So if I hurt someone, I hurt myself. And that's the empathic awareness straight up, which is why we're slightly unique from a lot of the humans and here to share and shine, right? It's that was our direct experience. Me killing that little bug when I was 5 years old, feeling the pain of my own power. I can take that life out, and then feeling the pain of that, you're like, oh God. Or like I can remember one of the first times and probably one of the only times I lied I remember I just didn't like this girl. Do you know what? This was my first experience of jealousy as well. A little girl, this is when my parents started to go through divorce and my perfect little enchanted fairy tale life was over. And I'm 6 years old and I'm starting to be a little bit more rebellious at school. And there was a girl who was the principal's daughter. And for some fucked up reason, as the 6-year-old kid, I was jealous, and for some reason, I told a lie. I told mom that she stole something from me, and then all but then, I don't know, days or something happened, or mom probably went to the school and did something, and then as it turns out, I got caught. And I just remember how shitty it felt, how embarrassed and how bad I felt. And I remember going over it and being like, why would you do that? And I'm a little kid. So I'm like learning these lessons about lying and killing and like doing things that potentially hurt people. It's not cool. It's not fun. It does just hurt yourself. Hey, Heather G, girlfriend, I don't even know. Like, what have you missed? All of life and nothing at all. Because we don't even necessarily chat, right? I want to see. I basically have seen, hi, Claire. Oh, hi, Claire. I'm not being tons of shit. Yeah. Like sin is just the belief that other is separate. Holiness is the knowingness that we are one. I've heard a different story about the moon as well. That I don't, you guys know I don't necessarily talk a lot about this kind of stuff anyway, but um that's right. And clear, here's the thing, clear vibrations. And this is something, this is again, I think why it's a perpetual cycle of sharing and learning and holding space and sharing and learning and holding space is that and this too shall pass one. And the more we can just be allowing for the feelings to keep like waves moving through us, it's so powerful for us to know it's in that moment that we are releasing it. As in I'm accountable and it's what scares me. So in this moment of your owning accountability, of projecting out that scares me, I can see it, I can see my fear. And then I'm gonna fucking heal you. I'm gonna integrate you. And that's something I've done with people who've treated me really badly or people who have hurt me. When it comes right down to it, I pull them into my energy. I become them in that moment because if I'm frightened, they're outside of me. If I pull them in, I say, I made you do that to me to teach me a lesson. You are me. And then once we integrate that lesson and or experience, it no longer has any power over us because we've merged with the experience, i.e., we've become more whole. We've unified an aspect of our soul that we put outside of ourselves. Yeah, I know. Moon energy, people have different aspect to moon energy. Truly, no shit, my friend. But this is also, I think, why we have each other. Just little drop-ins of like how the exhaustion that hits us, and then to be affirmed that that's okay. That's just par for the course. The more we let ourselves live in the flow, the more there's just going to be ups and rounds. Times of the year we're just exhausted, need to sleep, need to integrate, need to have self-care. And times of the year where we might not actually be sleeping that much. And there could be a whole host of energy driving us, ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows. It's just a continual cycle, right? I.e., we're not machines, never were we meant to be machines. And that construct doesn't align. It's not good for us as beings. We can't live like that. So living on flow. And like, isn't it lovely just to be with the feelings? That expression of like, I'm feeling sad today and that's okay. Or like, I'm feeling tired. I've been tired for a few days. And that's something we can often reflect in these communities or like watch a Luna or watch any of us and just reflect back like, the intensity of the depth of the energy that's coming through, right? Evolve or repeat. What? And, like, I can do like, I'll have, like, exhaustion and then wake up, excitement, lots of goodness, and then hit down again. Oh, see, lovely insight, Rochelle, as well. And that's just par for the course, right? As far as we are the only like, we are the self healer, and yet at the same time, what I often share with people now, you guys know I've worked with healers and done lots of different kind of healing modalities, as many of you have, and we do when we're guided to see certain people or work with certain people, we do. Um, but where I've moved into more specifically right now, like really coming into my sovereignty and balanced state is if I'm clearing some pretty heavy duty pain, like, emotional, physical, like, it might be something really ugly. A few days ago, there was some really ugly, um, again, oppressive energy moving through me. And I remember I was really lucky just to have a friend that I just was like, dude, like this is shit that's coming up. And then he bounced back and then I bounced back. And there was just this huge, huge release. And the way I explain it to people is that sometimes we just need a witness, i.e., the healing can be as direct as being heard, being seen, having somebody go, I see you in your pain. Like, it seems kind of weird, but that's my direct experience. Sometimes we just need someone to hear us, to be there for us. I don't necessarily, when I'm holding space or when I'm doing healings or doing sessions or teaching yoga, I'm not trying to heal people. I don't think people are unwell. I see people in their divinity and intuishes, because it's the one is it can be two beings or a group of beings holding space for any density to come through and shift. It's like all we're doing is showing each other more of ourselves, right? There's a lot of despair energy coming through, clear? So intuitively, and there feels like, so I always just think of it as like the central pillar. I talk about it in the Fearless Life Guide as opposed to like a chakra system. I just think of like a central pillar of light. I often get like a light blue, and I'm just feeling and sensing. So there's the word paralyzed, which is bringing me in my awareness to the spine, and it feels like somewhere around the mid or just lower back area. There's like just sort of I often get kind of either a tar-like energy or like a mechanical hold. And the mechanical hold is often what's kind of entrapping us. So it's like spending time really clearing out and or working with that energy of clearing that spinal column, that pillar. And then, but at the same time, at the same time, I'm like, or not, because the truth is, as long as you're being present with it, you're clearing it out. Plus, let us remind ourselves that we're often doing this work for other. I know that's the one of those things that feels like that often feels out there for people, but in my awareness, this is why I'm like, this book isn't for everybody. This book isn't going to resonate for every human being. Not every human being is going to plummet to the depths of their emotional field. This is the service we're here to provide the humans. So it's like, if you can feel really deep, it could be waves of awakening collective energy that's actually hitting up against you. So then that would require, i.e., if you're doing the inner body scanning and nothing's being cleared out from within your vessel, then it's waves from the collective that's coming over you. And then that means that we would be required to just be a little bit more protective of the energy and do a lot of self care. Even in the despair, just love yourself like a mommy would love a baby. And then I'm just seeing like saging and crystals and just like do any sort of physical groundwork to protect your energetic field. So, like your house, so you could do crystals and salt stuff in the house and sacred geometry. And then saging, I'm seeing you sage your front door as well. And that can just help to harmonize some of the energy that's coming at you as a channel. So oftentimes the more light filled channels are like well, lighthouses, like beacons, right? But the polarity is that we can often unconsciously be beacons for dark energy. Now, you are clearing it well, clear vibrations. I can sense that you are shifting it and clearing it. Um, like it makes my heart quite like, oh, you're just, it's, you, it's a lot. And I'm hearing like you're all alone. So just be easy on yourself, and trust that it's gonna shift. Plus, it is getting to that point, you guys, of like enough. I don't think many of us can take much more. Whatever shit we're clearing, whatever the hell's going on, enough is enough, right? Like these depths have got to clear out. We can't. Most of us are at that point now. Of like I can't carry on like this. I can't carry these patterns, these programs, these illusions. I can't carry this fucking past shit with me anymore. So we're one at a time, breath by breath, moment by moment. We're stepping in. We're stepping in. And that reminds me as well, Cleo, as far as like, yeah, okay. So if the back does hurt, then it's definitely there's a restructuring going. So every depth of despair that is limiting you from your from your expansive rising is coming out, is coming up, and it is getting cleared. And I do sense a little bit of external like coming out because of the sensitivity and the washing. You're being cleaned in a sense. So and also like be proud of yourself, by the way. I'll give Clear a big round of applause, or any of us, for any day of any intensities that we're feeling, because let's be honest, life is fucking hardcore. Yay us for just choosing to be alive. Oh, yay, Julie, 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 Julie. This is so beautiful. Awesome, awesome. So, you guys exchange emails, and Julie has sent me a recording, and I like loved it. I can't even remember. It was probably only about 15, maybe 20 minutes, but I ended up just like sitting there and meditating with it. And I was just like, this is good shit. Sound healing, frequency, and vibrashe, basically, right? So yeah, the lower back is clearing itself out. You're in it. You're in it. Like you're in the eye of it, right? And it's been coming so heavy that I can reflect back. Or Santo Paulo. Yeah, nice. Good. Oh, good. Yeah, you're clearing out now for sure. And this is something like we know we're stepping into these new realities, but we're still in the old. And then I'm going to do a new moon update tomorrow, but it really is this sort of resolution energy that we're finally stepping into our past. Let's get it. Basically, we're bottoming out. This is it now. This is as bad as it's going to get, and then we're going to start to see new things. And then because we're already anchored in the new, i.e., feeling sentient, awake, and alive, and honest and open beings, we then are anchoring in so that we manifest the new, and then that assists in the waves of awakening. This is the kind of stuff that I just intuitively somehow see and feel and know in the collective, as we all have these certain insights and gifts all around us, and then we're all refining our gifts and our talents to share more. And this is where so many of us are healers. That's part of my higher vision as well, is like getting together for gatherings and having little mini festivals, is that we all have a part to play in all of this. Hi, JJ. How are you, my friend? We as the collective are evolving. Yeah, we are absolutely. It is all one, moving into these expansive realms, which are again humility and unity, we're all just like, "Oh, how fucking crazy is life? Does anybody really know what's going on? Not really. That's okay though. Let's have fun," you know? And let's be okay about feeling crazy. Let's be okay about feeling angry. Let's feel okay about being fucking sad and in despair and in grief. Because I'm pretty sure that's just the fullness of life. And let's be and we have a lot on this planet. So I reckon let's do it. And we are doing it. So I'm in this like beautiful countryside place. I'm feeling really, really blessed to one, have amazing friends all over the world. Two, have an amazing thanks today's. Yes, 100% all of the emotions. Yeah, like could we just all be like, I have all of them. Me too. Really? Do you get fucking fired up sometimes? Yeah. Do you get really sad sometimes? Yeah. Are you ever like so happy you feel like you're just gonna float off into the ether? Yeah. Oh, okay. Can kind of be with that, hold space with that, and realize that the old paradigm of economy and pro love